Hello and welcome to episode 22 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K playthrough here in cycle 43, day 13, where apparently I received 2 drought warnings on consecutive days. I guess that's part of the weather mod that I've been experimenting with. I haven't changed anything yet, but it's added a couple of things. At any rate, last episode we built a whole lot of tubeways, and thanks to your intelligence, we figured out that we can actually put suspension bridges off of the edge of these things, and then they can reach every single tile on the map. So that's what we're going to do. This one will reach all the way to the edge. So we're just going to pop those on there. And then we've got a couple problems to solve before we get into our drought here. Specifically, we have 2,600 water, which, you know, is a lot if you have 113 beavers, but it's not enough for a super long drought, and especially it's not enough for what we want to be doing. So I'm gonna have to peel these back so I can actually see something. But we're gonna need more than 8 of these guys. They're also not prioritized by haulers, which is an interesting decision I should have done something about. Also, shout out to the Simple Sounds mod not playing all of these water pump noises as I click on everything. I love it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for recommending that to me here. But I am so excited that we finally have all of this construction scaffolding in place, once again reaching the entire map, because now that's going to allow us to really get stuff going without having to wait an extraordinarily long time to get everything else set up. So before we, talk too much about that, I am going to put in at least these 2 additional water pumps just to keep things going a little bit faster for pumping, because we really ought to have more than this. We still have 6,000 storage, which is currently fine. But remember, we're going for 1,000, and we're going to need to have a lot more. Which brings us to the next topic of discussion that I would like to bring up. I love watching this. This is so fun. We've had some really good ideas in the comments for the future of this playthrough, and I fell in love with this specific one of having a reservoir in the middle of the map that has underneath it a mangrove farm, dimensions 48 by 24. Which would take, okay, I gotta hide these again, would take the entire length of the map, but only half of it. So if we were to build that, we should be able to have enough mangrove trees to keep the 1,000 beavers mostly satiated in terms of mangrove fruit demand. If I scroll here on my second monitor to what the math on that was, it was, 1,125 mangrove trees, 19 gatherers, 48 by 24 pond was the size proposed on that, like I said. But if that was below the main reservoir, meaning we had the mangrove... Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing again. Hold on. There we go. If we had that on the very top of the dirt as the highest level, because you have to grow the mangrove trees in the dirt, obviously, we would still have all of this height here to build a reservoir that would be pretty substantial. I don't know if it would have enough volume to, hold all of the water before pumping that we would need, but it would be something that we could strive for at the very least, and would also free up a lot of space here for growing other stuff. I think that would be a fun goal to get to. Obviously, it's not something we can do right away, but I do think that is going to be what I would like to get into. It will also have the added benefit of irrigating the entire map because of the distance between the edges and all that. So we wouldn't need to have these things right here. So, okay, again, I have to hide these things so I can actually see. But consider how much space this takes up before you say, well, that's going to take up too much space. 9 tiles of water, plus a further 12 for the edges, plus the infrastructure to get in. Of course, we were only going to have 4 of these to begin with, but that's not an insignificant amount of space when you consider the pathing around it and all of the space you can't use to grow crops or whatever. 4 of these is still, it's like I don't know, maybe like only a third or a quarter of the space taken up by the mangrove farm. But it also means we could have better continuity of things beneath, because we're not going to have access to get up here, so on and so forth. Just stuff to think about. I think I'd like to try that. I'm not, again, not completely married to the idea, and I always do appreciate your feedback, your ideas, etc. But I think that would be a fun one. Let's go ahead and get those prioritized by haulers there, because that is going to be something that would solve a whole lot of problems all at once. Remember last episode when I had these things kind of disastrously plugged in here? There's a lot... Oh, I love these lanterns just sitting here. There's a lot of construction that we still have to do, and we currently don't have a lot of planks because we also, last episode, did all of this exploding, and this is still happening, so on and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit of time before we can have everything completely taken care of in a manner that is going to be satisfactory for everybody. But that doesn't mean we can't try, we can't continue, etc. That is going to just take some time, so we're going to let them do that. Get this on triple speed. Yes, coffee aficionados, I hear you. I feel you. We will be making coffee for the beavers today. I always forget I have to hide these. But we don't really have a very good setup over here because of, well, everything. This is a very, very chaotic, nonsensical kind of layout of stuff that we're going to need to do something to fix. So what's going to happen with that is we're going to need to pare down what's here. Remember, when we finish all of this stuff, all of the terrain, which it's not going to be today. I don't have time to sit here for 6 hours again and do it. And I probably really should not be doing that anyway. But once all of the terrain is taken care of, then we can migrate all of the industry to its permanent home, which would be above all of this. But we have to get there first. A long time ago, we mentioned trying to get all the stuff unlocked for science early on, so we didn't have to worry about number crunchers. This one's been paused forever. So let's take a look at what we have and have not unlocked. The regular tubeway station, which I don't anticipate ever using, but we may still want to use at some point. That will not be a priority to unlock. All of this is good to go. All of this is good to go. District crossings, we're never going to have separate districts in here. Housing-wise, large barracks, go ahead and get those, as well as the other row house. That's an easy thing. Stream gauges, I don't really think we're going to need to use them, but we'll get them unlocked anyway. And the deep mechanical fluid pump also is not something I think we're going to need to use, but I will do it just in case. Food-wise, hydroponic gardens, again, not planning on using them, but we might as well unlock them. Coffee, I already just said we're about to do coffee. Wood's done. Metal's done. Gravity batteries. And then we have bot stuff. I was really hoping not to use these, but we may want to have, at the very least, one factory so we can make the components that will allow us to have the big torii gates and everything. So, Americanized Japanese pronunciation aside. But I really don't want to have bots for the rest of the stuff. I want to try first to do it without bots, and if it's impossible, then I guess we'll have to give it and do it. But 7-day drought here. Again, we're going to be totally fine with water. I would like that number to be larger. I'm actually surprised how short of a drought that is in cycle 43, but I digress. Well-being, decontamination pod. I really, really hope we never need this, but you might as well. Swimming pool, I talked about maybe building one of those, but we never did. Get that unlocked so we don't have to think about it. Fences, again, probably not going to use, but we might as well because it is there. So that leaves us with monuments. We already have these two unlocked. Tribute to Ingenuity is 12k. And now the Earth Repopulator is 20k. So now we have 17,000 science. We've unlocked everything except bot stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and get that tubeway station. And since we have extra science, I might as well just go ahead and unlock all these things, even if we're not going to use them, just so we have them. And so we can say, hey, we unlocked everything. So, yeah, we unlocked everything except the district crossing, which is now unlocked. We've unlocked everything. There is nothing left to unlock. So we don't need, ever again, to have the number cruncher. Goodbye. That does leave us a little bit of space here, depending on how we want to play with this. I think it is going to be in our best interest to have additional production of stuff like, well, okay, metal might not be such a huge problem now, but the wood workshop is not going to be able to keep up by itself. Remember that we need to use those in the mine, and we're currently not able to keep up with that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build right here 2 of these. We'll disconnect this, get this connected there, and that's going to give us an opportunity here to get this in place, connected, which actually, I lied. That just makes so much more sense for this right here to be a ladder, because that will connect to this. And then we can come in here with something that will actually connect to this spot. I know this is not the ideal layout. That is not the issue at hand. I just want to get this stuff in here, man. I just want to get it in there. And then for right now, I will just have this power shaft here so that all of this can be working, and we will need to have a tank for coffee somewhere. Again, not the permanent location of any of this, just what we are able to work with at this exact moment in time. So, I know that's a bad place. That's not coffee. I guess depending on where you go to get your coffee, maybe it does taste like grease, but this will now be where the coffee can go, which will consume water to produce, but will also take advantage of all of these things, give our beavers a little bit of a well-being bonus, and hopefully everyone is a little happier at the end of the day. But we still have the matter of what to do over here. We need to have all of these things popped in correctly, and I think probably the only really safe way to do it is going to be to put in yet more double platforms, basically this entire area, double platforms, so they can just stand on it and we don't have to worry about it. We can just build all of this in and not have to be stressed out. So that will hopefully solve our problems. This area over here is fine. This area over here is not. In fact, I realize now I don't need to have those there because that area is fine. So this will allow them, almost perfectly actually, to place the necessary stuff where it needs to be placed from underneath with minimal weeping or gnashing of teeth. So let's go ahead. Why do I keep using that? Let's just go ahead and pop these in here, fill in all of our space, and move on with our lives. That'll seal that up nicely. So, now you might be asking, I always forget to do this, what are you doing about dirt because you got rid of the dirt excavator? Well, that is a very good question. We have to have somewhere else to put a dirt excavator because we previously were excavating over here, which is now no longer viable because this is going to be land we can grow stuff on before too long, eventually. So we will have to put it over in this general area, which is why I was really wanting to kind of redo a bunch of this, because it's going to end up being an enormous pain in the butt. However, time goes on and does not wait for anyone, so we will have to just kind of suck it up and find a spot, whether or not it is a good spot. And I think probably what's going to make the most sense is just to put it in this corner here, which is going to cause some interesting issues here. Let's just go ahead and rip that band-aid all the way off. Just take this out, that out, that out. This bit here, here. I guess I could just use the demolish buildings tool. So I will do the beavers a kindness and only get rid of that. I remember we need a 5x6 space because we have to have the entrance. So that means that goes away. And this will fit right here, which unfortunately is not going to allow us to connect to this thing here. We will have to go ahead and pop in this bit here, which hopefully is not too terribly awful of a thing to try and do. I also have to have pathing across this mess, which we will, I think, have to take care of by doing one of these. Let's put in ladder here, ladder here. I'm pretty sure... Oh, I forgot about the suspension bridges. Oh, what do you mean that doesn't work? Boo. Boo. But what? Oh, because there's a... Okay. All right. Nope. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to boo you wrongly. Not totally, at least. Okay. This is so stupid. Let's let's just get that taken care of. I think this is already connected here. Should be at least. There we go. All right. So once that is taken care of, then we'll be able to get rid of a bunch of this other stuff here. That's done. That smelter can be done. We're not going to need a ton of metal for quite some time. Look at these guys go. Building this stuff. Yeah, get that locked in place there. I really hope that works, or else I'm going to look stupid, but hey, is what it is. So what's going to end up happening here is these last two compact water wheels are probably going to stop producing power because the flow is going to be disrupted from having a thing here. But I think it's going to be okay. We're just going to have to make a couple more adjustments to stuff. And we're going to need to have another this thing, industrial lumber mill. I think I can put one of those here. That will come in a little bit. I need to make sure this is done. That's gonna be a whole thing. So, water is continuing to be pumped. Coffee has not yet been made because that's not been completed. And I guess they probably aren't started on this yet either. We've got a couple things still to take care of for that. Trying to do the best we can here. Taking a look at the notes here. We've covered most of the stuff that I wanted to discuss in terms of input on future things. But there's still plenty of stuff I want to get done today, so don't worry. I'm not planning on having 6 hours worth of time-lapsing on this episode. That was a whole lot. If they could just hurry up and finish with these planks. I know I'm asking kind of unreasonably for the single operating industrial lumber mill to, supply all this stuff, but it's going to get fixed eventually, soon-ish. Yeah, there we go. Get that last set of planks in there that they can apparently build from 3 tiles below. I didn't think that was possible. All right, make it happen. Get that last little bit in there, and then I really hope this will actually work. I'm used to the water beavers mechanics with the suspension bridges, so it's entirely possible it doesn't. Just gonna have to wait and see, I suppose. Although I wish it would go a little bit faster. Okay, so now what I do is take this out, which leaves me with, remember that these are still connected from the other side, leaves me with this space right here. Wait a second, why can't I place this here? Is there a path underneath this that I don't... There it is, okay. Alright. Alright, cycle 44 begins. We have the power coursing through our veins, as it were. And now this is going to not be able to put what I wanted to put there because I didn't think critically. That's fine. Let's just get this set up here so we can have actual access to things. Remember, dirt storage is all the way over here, which is kind of closer to where it's going to be used, so I guess that is okay. But we're going to need to have, at the very least, one of these little storages set up as a supply. Alright. So the problem here is going to be the treated planks that we have not yet, restarted production on, which require regular planks. Yeah, I didn't really think this through, did I? Let's at least get one of these wood workshops up and running, because that's going to have to handle that. And then here, I know, again, it's not the optimal solution, but I'm going to put the industrial lumber mill here so we can keep making additional planks, because we do have the treated ones here. It's probably mostly fine. Probably. So I think they should be able to build this the next day and get that taken care of, and then we won't have to worry quite so much about everything else. Yeah, so they still haven't started any of that at all. But water's going up. Logs are going up. Food has stayed about the same, which is the ideal that we're looking for. This is ready to go, and it's not gonna it's not gonna have any power. Neither are these, because this hasn't been built yet. Okay, all right. New plan. Put this power shaft in here, and then that's gonna solve all our problems. Well, except for this being built, because now it's not accessible, but it doesn't matter because we don't have the tree. We don't have the treated planks anyway. Okay. Oh, and this also needs treated planks. Of course it does. Okay, that's now the lowest possible priority. Am I about to do an incredibly stupid construction here? You better believe it. You better believe it. Let's get this in place. That'll help them build the rest of this. I know this is just absolutely heinous. Bear with me. It's gonna get better. We'll be okay. Power production wise, since we no longer have to account for the 500, is it actually 500 for the, yeah, for the number cruncher, that should solve most, but not all of those problems. I think, yeah, let's go ahead. I know this is, you know, disrupting the fabric of the universe or whatever, but let's go ahead and move the, no, that's the wrong button. Let's go ahead and move this to here, flip, because that will still connect everything we need it to connect. Yep, it's messy, but it definitely will, and then I can put one more industrial lumber mill right there. I don't care about having 3 bad water on the ground, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and get that going. And then, of course, this is going to have to be a priority as well. But that should really help, having 3 of these industrial lumber mills going, because we're using planks a whole lot, and now we can kind of leave that alone. So, we already talked about that. Other things of concern that people have brought up. Why did I not use tubeways going all the way up and down here? I'm pretty sure I already addressed this a couple times, but for everyone who didn't pay attention, I did not want to wait to have all of the tubeways built up every single one of these pylons, or even just one of them, because remember, we're still really, really, really slow at making metal, and I didn't really want to build up that infrastructure. So I did it this way because it would be the easiest, quickest with the resources that we had. We also don't have any connectivity between these. Remember, we still have plenty of stuff up above that I've just removed so I can actually see. So part of what I wanted to do was to take this tubeway right here and connect it with this thing in general. That's going to require that we do off the back side here and then go up. That's got to be a vertical tubeway. All the way up. And then that will connect to here. So it's not going to connect, you know, perfectly, but it does get us into the network from below without having to rely on this. And in the middle of the map, when we actually have this whole thing figured out, I did want to connect up here. Remember that this is not going to be here forever. All these tubeways are not going to be here forever. They are just the construction solution. They are not the distribution solution. That's a completely different thing. It's all part of the same puzzle, though, so we are, you know, doing our best to get everything taken care of. Let's get these connected with path. And now we have tiny tubeway stations and bridges all the way out to the very, very edge of the map. Every tile is accessible, and that is looking pretty good. You know what I just realized is I did not unlock these other bridges. I did not think it was going to be that big of an issue, but now they are. And the tiny metal platform. Okay, now everything's unlocked, actually. So we can move on from that and not have to worry about too much more nonsense. But of course, all of these tubeways require planks, which we are currently still producing extremely slowly, and metal blocks, which we are currently producing extremely not, because we don't have scrap metal. And we're not producing scrap metal because we don't have treated planks. And we're not producing treated planks because we don't have planks. And we don't have planks because we're trying to do everything else. So, very quickly, you can see how this turns into like a cat chasing his own tail. Well, cats don't do that. Dogs do that. Yeah, I think cats are probably too smart for that. I don't know why that's what my brain went to, but it is what it is. So eventually, once we have planks, they will build all of these platforms. We need to make sure they have access from below. And that is going to be something that I think is going to be easiest if I just put a ladder here. I know there's still other stuff we have to get rid of to be able to do all this, but one step at a time, folks. One step at a time. That should allow this to be mostly autopilot until we can come in and do everything else. Again, we will have to wait on having enough planks, but that is a process that we can just kind of, you know, stick on autopilot, let it be what it's going to be, and continue working on everything else. Though admittedly, I kind of wish this dirt excavator could get made a little bit quicker. Just going to have to get that plank production up even higher. So I think 3 of those is not going to be enough. We're also out of gears, which I actually don't remember if I have a gear workshop or not. Let's check. No, we don't have a gear workshop. So that is an additional problem, except we have 100 gears there. What am I doing where I don't even have a gear workshop? Come on. That is not a good look. What am I going to do with all this? I guess, I mean, I could put one here, but to go over that, it's going to have to be built on top of other stuff. What a strange predicament in which we find ourselves here. So this is like the only way to get into this guy. We can fix that. I think it's going to be easiest. Alright. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Put in a... not a staircase. Put in a ladder here. Then I can take that out. This is treated plank storage, I know. We will have something that is at least somewhat functional. I can assure you of that. Gear workshop here, powered from beneath, should not be a problem. And then we, I know this is terrible, but it's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. We'll be able to go take care of that. I think now is the time to deprioritize every single one of these things, so they stop using the planks to be able to do that. Plenty of other stuff to take care of. Plenty of other stuff to take care of. And again, this is going to take time, so we'll let that be what it's going to be. So, where does that leave us for everything else? Well, this is still completely disconnected because I did not put in the ladder. I guess I probably should have prioritized that. So we'll do that. Remember I talked a while back about wanting each level of this to be 2 blocks tall. That means this entire top here has to be unplanted, ripped up, and then put dirt in above all this. But that is that's going to be a bit of an involved process that's probably going to require a time lapse, and I kind of don't want to do it right now. But what we can do is we can kind of get a feel for what the rest of these levels are going to look like. Because this one is not irrigated, so that means nothing's planted on it, which means we can put terrain on it. So that's going to be the next level up. If we leave 2 more levels, there would be one there, there would be one there, and then this final one would be at the maximum height for dirt, which I think is probably the right way to be doing this. Regardless of whether or not we need to have all of this leveled out as dirt all the way up, I don't know. But I think that's going to be the thing that makes the most sense. If we're going to try to go for the mangrove tree solution, that means 2 up from here is going to be the ceiling of that, which means this level, this tiny tubeway station level, is going to end up at the same place. We may have to construct things slightly differently depending on how clearances work. But we should be able to have this be basically the entire map. The middle of it, the 48 by 24 section, will end up being, of course, those mangrove trees and a 1 deep pool. And then you have the 1 block above that, above the wall for that, rather. And then you have this overhang 6 by 1, all this stuff, as the ceiling of that, upon which we will build the reservoir on top, which will then have a height of, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will be the maximum height plus 1. So I guess technically we could have that reservoir go all the way up 9 blocks tall. So quick maths here. That's an old meme. With the help of my calculator, because I have a 3-watt Great Value brand appliance bulb in my head. For Europeans, that's the Walmart store brand. So 24 times 48, 1,152 tiles. We already established that with the amount of mangrove trees. By a volume of 9 is 10,368 cubes of water. I don't know how much pumping that is, but that is a lot. And I think that is probably more than the source can produce in a temperate cycle. So we may find that that is insufficient, or it's sufficiently too large. Insufficiently too... See, my math brain is infecting my English brain. And now I can't even talk properly. Good job. But that will take up basically half of the map for that entire thing, and then along the side of that, well, I know I'm gesturing at things you can't see, so activate your imagination and pretend with me here. We'll have 9 tall to work with, and then on either side of our irrigation pond thing, it'll be well, actually, because it wouldn't it would be like 11 tall, because we'd have the parts outside of the... This makes sense in my head, I just can't articulate it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But we will have essentially 50 by 50 long, because that's the size of the map, by like 12-ish by 11 tall times 2 to put all of our housing and all of our storage and all of our industrial production in. I think that's probably enough space. Probably. Not going to guarantee it, but I think for right now that is probably going to be fine. And that's what I'm going to be working on, unless you guys know that's going to be a bad idea and you can tell me, hey, that's going to be a really bad idea, and then maybe we won't do that. But I think that's a fun goal to strive for. It would fill up the map very nicely. It would look pretty good. And most importantly, is going to be fun to build. So that will be... Did I get got by this? I think I did. Yeah, this is going to have to be... I forget about the vertical power shafts. Oh, no, I gotta delete this. Okay. Boy. That is certainly a thing that happened. So... Oh, this is connected from the back here. I was wondering how this is working. Poorly. Alright, well, that's fine. How are we doing with our regular planks here? They are building this stuff. How are they doing on the dirt? They are building the dirt. Good. Good. That's what I wanted. I think the 704 dirt we have should maybe be enough to do most of this. But we're gonna need this guy to come online sooner rather than later, so we will see what happens. So to that end, I know I said I wasn't going to do a ton of time lapses, but I do have to time lapse this. I cannot just sit here and fill dead air for the next 20 minutes while they take care of that. So do let me know what you think about the ideas that I've posed for our irrigation and our mangrove stuff and all the other stuff. I think it's going to be cool. If you think it sucks, tell me, hey, I think this sucks, and like I'm not going to be mad at you. That's how this works. You provide honest feedback, and we go from there. But if you think it's a cool idea, please do let me know. I really want this playthrough to be the best one we've ever done. Like every playthrough, I want it to be the best one we've ever done. But I think this one truly has the potential to be something really special. And especially the amount of time I'm putting into this, the amount of time you guys are putting into watching it, I want it to be worth our while. And if there's a better way to do it, then I'm obviously all ears. But let's go ahead and come out of the time lapse and finally start having dirt be produced and take care of the rest of our terrain fixing underneath the reservoir in the other corner of the map. Alright, so we finally have the dirt excavator finished. We're not really producing enough power to run all of this stuff, but that problem will be solved during a temperate season. It just so happens to be a drought currently. Unfortunately, this wheel at the very end is not useful because it can't connect to anything. So we can either have it connect up to the back here, which probably would be the smartest thing to do, or we can just, you know, not. But part of the problem is also that this this explosives factory is not built yet, and it's not built yet because the gear workshop's not built yet. And the gear workshop's not built yet because the vertical power shaft that's going to power it needs a gear. But how are we going to make a gear? You see what's happening here. You see what's happening here. So I've got to find somewhere else to put in a gear workshop that will have power, because clearly I was not thinking with any part of any brain tissue that remains when I did this. So we have planks. The easiest, most pain-free way to do this is going to be to just take this lumber mill out, replace it with a gear workshop. I don't know why this always goes here, but I do not care. Have that built and just let it happen. And then this will just have to get replaced with something else. Or if I just leave that for gears, then I can have this be something else. I don't know, but you know, the time goes on, waits for no man or beaver, as it is. And we are putting all sorts of terrain in place which may or may not actually be able to be put in. Probably gonna have to do something a little bit more differently here, which is going to be turning these two around, and then everything else should be able to get built off of that. It's like the arrows system, I know it's going to send some of you into just a white-hot seething rage. I can't comprehend it. Brain no work. But the rest of this is getting filled in, and that should finally allow us to get the rest of this just completely taken care of, all done, ready to go in as perfect of a fashion as we can manage. Because this is all pretty much done here. We talked a little bit about how this line cannot go anywhere until the reservoir disappears. The reservoir can't really disappear until it's replaced, and it's not going to be replaced until we have all this other stuff done. So on and so forth. So that's about the size of it. Once these are all in place, then we can, you know, clean this up a little bit. And honestly, that's probably going to be something for a time lapse in a future episode, because I'm not going to stretch this out any longer than it needs to be today to get the rest of this stuff done. But I did think it was important, and we already did talk about this, to discuss what we're going to do with all of our layers here. So, seeing how we have 4,500 food, that number is lower because these weren't running because we didn't have power going through everything, because not everything was hooked up right. That's going to recover a little bit, and then I think what's going to make the most sense is for us to just strip out all of these plants. In fact, I will go ahead and unplant this entire level now. I'm not going to pull the plants out of the ground, but I am going to make it so that they don't get replanted, because we have to rip out all of this dirt and then replace it. But since we have all of these tubeways that are currently hidden, now you can see them, that's going to be a much less painful process. Still going to be a little painful, but, you know, it is what it is. It's the way she goes, etc., so on and so forth. So they're going to do what they got to do, and then I will probably end up having to time-lapse that at some point later. But we finally have gears, and we can get this vertical power shaft put in place. We can get this gear workshop put in place. In terms of actually using gears, it's really unlikely we're going to need any more of them for a while, because we're not building bots. We've already researched everything. The only monuments that take gears are the ones we're not going to be building yet, like the Tribute to Ingenuity and the Earth Repopulator, which are kind of capstone things. So I think for right now, we actually don't need this to be a gear workshop. We just have the one. Obviously, we do want to have some gears, but I'm going to make this an industrial lumber mill because we do need to have planks. That is absolutely non-negotiable. We must have planks. And this guy almost has all of his gears, so that should be fine. Once that is in place, then that will connect everything except this single compact water wheel, which, yes, in due time will stop producing power just because of the bad water flowing out the end here. So I think the best option is going to be to just get rid of this. I did want to try and, you know, make some sort of power, but I think this is the best we're going to get. Just these three right here. So we probably should expand the power generation here. Probably should put in at least an engine or two, possibly. But that is going to be something that I don't really want to get too far into before we have terrain stuff taken care of. I guess, like, I could, because we have this platform up here, I could just go ahead and say, you know what? Let's just come in here and put in a couple of these things and just be done with it. This 3x will get us all the way up here. I think it's probably going to be worth having this in place. That will connect just fine. This will go right here. That was the absolute wrong way for that to be going. Why do they do that? So, that'll get built at some point. They are not going to be able to actually build this top level of anything unless I put in ladders here. And I will have to have it go all the way up to the top. So, you see why this takes a really long time now? It just does. Everything takes forever. That's the way of the world, and we do need to be producing a lot more. But we can safely leave that behind for the time being and come back to here, which we're only waiting on a single block to be put back in place here, and then, of course, this mess right here that does not have a block attached to it, because somehow I did not put one in. But now it does have one. And then all of this just has to be matched up with our pylons as it was before. And we can blast things out. This is just singles that can go down. That's singles that can go down. And the rest has to be hollowed out all the way to the edge. So, you know, that takes a super long time. I do not have the planks to do it. I kind of don't want to do it today anyway. But we can at the very least take a look at where we are and get stuff popped in best as we can. So remember, above this is the ceiling of the whole thing, and the reservoirs on top, so we're not going to be tunneling in a way that's going to cause that to collapse. We just need to keep in mind we have all of this stuff in the middle that does not need to be here, and it can go away depending on how the stuff above has been put in. And because this is levees right here, I don't think I'm going to be able to get rid of all of this. But everything on this side we absolutely can. Absolutely can. Just need to make sure I don't unnecessarily cause violence here. So that's going to be probably the easiest way to do this. Just bring this all the way out. These I'm going to leave in place. I'm not going to worry about messing with that. Just all sorts of this stuff coming in and out. So where does that leave us today? Well, we've gotten most of what we wanted to get done. I'm not going to sit here and say everything, but we did manage to get a pretty good amount accomplished. We just scroll this here. Okay, so that's actually the one that needs to go. One of these days I'm going to actually remember how I'm doing things here. Today, I guess, is not that day. But, that was the wrong one. I don't know, you ever have those days where you just get really, really tired and you're like, well, I have to keep going, I have to keep doing stuff, and then it ends up being kind of bad? Well, okay, well, I guess that's today. So maybe that's a sign I need to take some time off. But the beavers will wait for no man, especially not me. So they're going to take care of that as soon as we can figure out a way to get them up and in there. Probably the easiest method is going to be to just, you know, come through the side here. Nice and simple, because that is not going to be a pylon anyway. Then, of course, we're not going to be messing with the floor of the the reservoir. So that should be fine. We'll just let them do what they're going to do. That's going to bring them in on the quote-unquote second floor of this, but that will be pretty easily solved without, you know, substantial weeping or gnashing of teeth, as it were. And I think that is probably going to be about the best we can do in this scenario. This piece of dynamite needs to be removed. Glad we caught that. Everything else is looking about as good as we can get it. So, now we finally have a temperate cycle. We are producing not quite enough power, but this, before too long, will be complete. As soon as we have enough gears, and that will take care of so many problems. But remember what I said about over here. We have to blow everything up and rebuild it. So, that is the wrong button. Good job. We do have all of these ladders here that we probably should keep at least a couple of them. But hey, this is connected here now, which does feed into the entire tubeway network. I think including these guys at the very, very bottom here that we haven't really done too much else with. But these will be pulled out within the next day or so. And since these are not structural, I feel pretty comfortable going ahead and removing pretty much all of these. Remember, they can connect up top, and I'm not really concerned about time. I'm more concerned about doing something correctly versus incorrectly. So this will also help to give us some planks that we desperately need. And remember that they can still get up the rest of these before we do anything else over here. So, since we have the opportunity, and we already know that we have some dirt coming in, let's go ahead and just, first of all, get that thing out of there. Build the rest of these up, because we know they can build from above. I am not firing on 100% here. Okay, yep, there's your sign. There's your sign. Oh boy. Okay, well this one I can actually just go ahead and have that go all the way up. Probably should be all of these going all the way up. Good lord, okay. Alright, I'm not clicking any more of those. This has clearly gone incredibly poorly. I just need to go ahead and get these explosives put in place. Because boy, are we about to have a whole lot of stuff replaced here. So remember, what we're doing here is we are removing all of this so we can raise it one more level. There are buildings that are going to have to be replaced as a result of this. That is the way it goes. But these aren't occupied anyway, so that is totally fine. So I'm going to let them put the rest of this in place. Hopefully there's nothing else that gets exploded that doesn't need to be. And I think that's going to be about as good as we can expect. Just let them do all that. I'm going to go ahead and say we're not going to do that today. I'm just starting the process of them getting that stuff put in there. And we're going to leave that for next week. We can come in with a little bit more energy, a little bit more idea of what we're trying to do, and make a pretty good amount of difference. But we're going to have to be kind of quick about it, because the food we're growing up here was kind of important. We do have a little bit of back stock to get through, but that will just take, hopefully, not too much time to get the terrain reset and all that. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, giving good ideas, and just having a really fun attitude about the whole project. Like, I think this is a really fun thing to try. And I know some other people have done similar things on this map, but I wanted to do it with you guys, with our own different ideas, and see what kind of fun stuff we can accomplish. So I really do appreciate the support. Beard Boosters also directly subsidizing me, the channel, etc., so on and so forth. Keeping it sponsor free and just focused on having a good time with the beavers. So I really appreciate each and every one of you, if you're on that list or not. But the time has come for us to end this episode. Sorry it's not a longer one. But I still feel pretty good about doing most of the stuff I originally set out to in this one. and getting a couple things accomplished, planned out, discussed, thrown in the air for you guys to interact with and decide if that's something you want to see or not. And then come back, like I said, next week to try and get some cool stuff accomplished, starting with Tuesday's episode. So whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.